Imagine going through an intense workout, walking under the scorching summer sun, or dancing all night at a crowded party, and somehow you still don't smell. No deodorant, no body spray, no embarrassing sweat odor. Sounds like a superpower, right? Welcome to Science Curiosity Well. For millions of people around the world, it's not a superpower at all. It's genetics. More specifically, it's a fascinating genetic variation known as the ABCC11 mutation, often called the no body odor gene. And here's the crazy part. The same gene that determines whether your armpits smell can also determine the type of earwax you have. Yes, earwax. Let's dive into one of the strangest and most surprising genetic traits scientists have ever discovered. Most people assume body odor comes directly from sweat, but that's actually not true. Fresh sweat is almost odorless. The smell we associate with body odor is created when bacteria living on our skin break down certain compounds found in sweat. The biggest contributor comes from special sweat glands called apocrine glands, located mainly in the armpits. These glands release a protein-rich secretion that bacteria absolutely love. As the bacteria break down secretions, they produce chemicals called thiols, which create that familiar sweaty smell. Now here's where the ABCC11 gene enters the story. The ABCC11 gene produces a transporter protein that helps move specific molecules into sweat and earwax. One of these molecules becomes food for odor-producing bacteria. In people with a fully functioning ABCC11 gene, those compounds are released normally. The bacteria consume them, multiply, and create body odor. But some people carry a special version of the gene that dramatically changes everything. This version causes the ABCC11 transporter to lose much of its function. As a result, the compounds that odor-causing bacteria depend on never reach the skin in significant amounts. No food, no bacterial feast, and almost no armpit odor. But that's not all. This same genetic variation also changes the consistency of earwax. People with the typical version of ABCC11 usually have wet, sticky earwax. People with the non-functioning version usually have dry, flaky, crumbly earwax. Scientists were actually able to use earwax type as a clue that eventually helped them discover the connection to body odor. So if you've always had dry earwax, there's a chance you're carrying this famous no-stink genetic variant. Now here's something even more surprising. This mutation isn't evenly distributed around the world. In many East Asian populations, including Korea, China, and Japan, between 80 and 90% of people carry the version associated with little or no body odor. That's incredibly common. But in most European populations, the trait is much rarer. Only a small percentage of people carry 2 copies of the no body odor variant. In other words, depending on where your ancestors came from, your chances of having this trait can vary dramatically. So does this mean people with the ABCC11 mutation never sweat? Not at all. This isn't a superhero gene. You can still get sweaty palms, you can still have a shiny forehead, and you can definitely sweat during exercise or hot weather. What changes is mainly the chemistry of your armpit sweat and the bacteria that normally turn it into odor. That's why many people with this variant produce little or no underarm smell, even without deodorant. In fact, researchers have found that some people who genetically don't produce body odor still wear deodorant simply because it's part of their daily routine or social expectations. Imagine spending your entire life fighting a problem your DNA already solved. The ABCC11 gene is also being studied for other reasons. Researchers have linked different versions of the gene to medication responses, certain skin conditions, and even disease risks in specific populations. Scientists are still uncovering all the ways this tiny genetic change affects the human body. So the next time you meet someone who seems impossibly fresh after a workout, don't be too jealous. They might have won the genetic lottery. A tiny change in a single gene could mean fewer odor-producing bacteria, less smelly sweat, and even dry earwax. Not exactly the superpower, but definitely one of the most useful. And now you're probably wondering, what kind of earwax do you have? If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe for more fascinating science facts, and let us know in the comments.